welcome everyone. It's Aether's Walkway. It is a Friday. I'm Lindy, and this is my channel, so welcome. We're going to be playing Aether's Walkway, and so we're going to say who we are and who we're going to be playing. But before we do that, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Roll20, virtual tabletop of choice. Our character sheets are in there, all our roles are going to be in there for today, so if you haven't checked them out already, please do so, because they're pretty great. Roll20.net. Just do it. Just check it out. I'll be playing Zarina Nix. She is I was gonna say mostly human, but that's a lie. She's a human with a lot of, cybernetic implants and parts. She's just done a lot of testing, and her near fiance is not dead and is also maybe a clone. There's some things going on. She's emotional. Someone who probably is also emotional, or at least their character is, would be Hybria's player. Lily, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing good. Always happy to be back with Aether's Walkway. It's funny because you are a human with lots of robot parts, and I am a lot of robot parts that used to think I was a human. So, just a great group to have together. Yeah, I'm playing Hybria, the heiress and noble lady who isn't just stiff, she's just actually a robot, as has been revealed recently. So, just trying to figure that out now. And what do you do when your life is not only a lie, it's AI?
That's a very good question. Someone who might be able to provide some valuable insight into that is Greg.
Greg can't, and neither can Cantor, who I play. Cantor doesn't know anything for longer than a minute or two. I did have somebody ask, and I don't know if we can share this, but I'm going to ask Alice. Alice, people have asked on YouTube if there was some way to let us know what our descriptor is for our characters.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're not quite sure. And I didn't know if you wanted us to reveal any of that, or if that's
purely down to all of you. If you want to reveal it, you can reveal it. If not,
I will, because it reveals nothing about Cantor, and it actually creates more problems. So I am Greg. I will be playing Cantor, and Cantor is a learned adept who learns quickly. Now, if you've been watching the show, you know that's not true. But anywho, back to you, Lindy.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's a great idea. We'll go back, rewind a little bit, and say who we are as well. Zarina is a clever, voluntary experimental subject who fuses flesh and steel. Would you care to divulge Hybria's sentence?
Yeah. Mingzhu Hybria Zhenfeng is a driven technological explorer who siphons power. I love that we're doing this reveal, like, what are we, 11 episodes in? And I just feel like the pieces, they don't quite add up a little bit, but whatever, it's fine.
It's fine.
Wait. Say your descriptor again. Wait. Say Hybria's descriptor again. I want to like drink it in.
A driven technological explorer who siphons power.
Mm-hmm.
She has never siphoned power yet to date. Although she is exploring her technological side,
That's very true. That's very true. I haven't done a lot of fusing of flesh and steel, so, maybe I'll have the itch to do that at some point soon.
You are the fused of flesh and steel.
Yeah, but, it's a continual process. It doesn't really stop. I'm not addicted. I can stop anytime I want. Someone who might be able to help with that would be Loxy, played by Erica. Erica, how are you?
Hi, I'm Erica Firmina. I'm playing Loxy, your little bird alien mechanic. My descriptor is a strong-willed adept of technology who talks to machines in the far future among stars and space.
Most accurate.
Very cool. That's an awesome one. And what about Trooper?
So I'm Trooper SJP. Hey, you can find me in all the places, Trooper SJP or Academic Foxhole. And I really feel like what I need to say is that Hybria, Mingzhu Zhenfeng, is way more lifelike than the little girl in that bad 80s TV show Small Wonder, where she was like a little robot girl, but she was super stiff, but she also kind of had magic powers or something. It was a little unclear, but I feel like that's very similar to Hybria in your own way, but you're just cooler and have way better fashion. So I'm just noting that. I play Ramos Livewire Cantata, who is an appealing streamed journalist explorer who crafts illusions. My character is super fine right now. Well, I don't know, because there are two of us, one of whom is unconscious and the other whom is kind of freaking out. So like, okay, it's fine.
Average it out.
He's super fine. Super fine. Someone who's without air quotes, super fine, is Alice. How are you? Our GM.
Oh, hi. Yes, I'm Alice. This is where you can find me every Friday, which I'm very happy about, being back with all these lovely people. Yeah, that's it. I think we should dive in.
Yeah.
So
Over to
that
you.
We can go, because Livewire.
Wait, before
are
we go,
sat.
before we go, Alice, I just have to interrupt and just say, I can't believe you did an 80s deep cut that included Small Wonder. Anyway, back to you, Alice.
And back to another cut. Livewire. You're sat in this cabin, and you don't know how long you have sat there, because it's been dark for a while. And as you do, you can hear sort of like the cicadas and the crickets outside. You can definitely hear that breeze in the trees. You watch the rise and fall of that chest of you opposite you. This Solovac is sort of making its way around the cabin, not really doing much. It seems to be going into drawers and stuff more than anything else. And you realize you haven't even taken a bite of that granola as you sit there and you sort of clutch it tightly. What is going through Livewire's head?
In this moment, Livewire is sort of clutching this granola bar, which maybe has a little bit of bite taken out of it by the Solovac. It is possible. And he is also just picking at the one scar on his forearm that he and the other he share in common, that because they don't share other scars in common, so that's strange. And so he's just sort of like picking at it as he holds this granola bar, looking at this other him. Which him is it, right? And he's at the moment thinking, he's as he's sort of absent-mindedly sort of just picking at this scar, he's going through every moment since the time that he went to Sleaze, the black market mod guy who is good friends with his almost fiance. When he went to Sleaze to say, somebody just tried to murder me. I think it's the supremacy. I think I'm in trouble. What can I do? And he keeps going through, right, when he and Sleaze talked about faking his death and how Sleaze was like, you can't tell her because you can't pull her into this. And then when it happened, the explosion, and then every time since then that he spoke to Sleaze, that he went in, met Sleaze, and Sleaze, it's like this sort of mix between every time he went in and got his mod service, like when he got his first mod put in, when Sleaze put in the very first mod he's ever had, the only mod he has, and how that was to become modded was such a strange thing, and after just never having been modded, and he wasn't unmodded because he was a supremacist. He just never had been. But then all he did was be around supremacists. And so like that feeling of like, what does this mean? Especially since I have given my fiance the riot act more than once about having illegal mods, how black market mods are unhealthy and unsafe, and you shouldn't do this. And here, right, like here I am going under the knife to get this done. And how do I feel about that? But then every time he went to get the mod serviced from Sleaze, was Sleaze stealing his memories? And then every sort of time that he asks Sleaze how Zarina was, and Sleaze would say that she was fine, but there's still danger, right? And like just going through every moment, every time that he had this sort of connection to his past through Sleaze, everything like what did I tell him? Did I tell him what information? Like trying to figure out both the depth of the betrayal that happened, but also how much he gave away to Sleaze. And then there's that moment where he thinks, you know, he's like, did I say something to him? Did I tell him something? Did I tell him my address, or did I tell him where? And like trying to think about like what details he might have said. And then there's that moment where he goes, wait, maybe it didn't matter what I told him. Maybe he just pulled everything out of my mind every time he went and serviced the mod, and so it doesn't even matter what I told him. And then like thinking of that moment when I was in the van with the group and we were driving on our way to try and find Zarina, my almost fiance. And as we were driving in this rush to get her before she could be kidnapped or gotten, seeing Sleaze being loaded into one of the vans by the Supremacy van. And I remember that moment when I said to Loxy and I said to the group, he's being taken away. And Loxy said, we don't have time for that right now. And that was what I wanted to hear, because I didn't want to stop to try to save him. And I remember feeling bad about it at that moment, like feeling so guilty that I didn't try harder to save this man who saved my life, was looking after my fiance, but I also was jealous and I didn't want to save him because I suspected that he betrayed me in some way. And now that I sit in this cabin realizing the depth of what I think that betrayal was, right, as I pick at this scar, I come back to that moment where I left him to be taken away by the Supremacy, by these people who are experimenting on, like, who knows what they all have done. And I think, did I make the right choice by not insisting we save him? And I know I made the right choice. I know I made the right choice, but it lingers. And now it's even worse. Like, I think of him as even worse than ever, right? I think of him as being like the worst betrayer, but I still think about him going into that van and not saying anything. And what does that mean? But then I think, well, maybe it wasn't me who left him to go into the van. Maybe it was him, the one over there. Maybe he was the one who did it. And how like awful that one is over there. He made all the bad choices, right? He abandoned Sleaze. He abandoned everyone. He ran away. He's a coward who thinks that he's brave, but he's not. And that's not me, right? That's not me. I didn't do all those things. I just have the memories of someone who did all those things. But I didn't do it. But would anyone believe me that it wasn't me? I think it wasn't me. And I keep thinking about, and then like my thoughts turn to all the things that I'd be ashamed of, right? All the things and the choices that I would be ashamed of having made, things that I didn't do, insecurities, ways in which I felt that nobody thought I was smart, that everyone thought I was just a piece of meat and brainless sort of eye candy to be objectified, and how I let them do that, and how I always felt bad about it. But then I thought, but that wasn't me. I didn't do that. I didn't make those choices. That one made those choices, and it wasn't me. And it's this sort of strange moment of sliding from thinking about Sleaze to thinking about all of those choices that the other one made. And as I think about them and all the choices the other one made that I don't like, I pick at that scar just a little harder and a little harder, in a way, slightly self-punishing, but not exactly even aware of it, because it's not me that I'm punishing, because I didn't do it. He did it. He did it. I think. I think it was him and not me. But I remember doing it.
And as you sort of almost absent-mindedly, but not fully absent-mindedly, you're there sort of making these movements, making these actions. You're in this, apart from the breeze outside, you've been in this almost like silent bubble, this silent cage of your own thoughts. And the thing that sort of brings you back is that third floorboard that always creaks outside when someone steps on it. And it's just, it's very quiet, but it's almost like you get a flashback to always thinking you need to fix that. But at the same time, you should be out here on your own.
In that moment, when I hear that floorboard, two things happen. Like there's a thought and there's a movement. And the thought is, it's a tracker. And I look at the scar and I think, what if there's a tracker embedded in my body right now where this scar is? And it's like that. It's like the cognitive moment of thinking, what if it's right here? And I look at this scar and I think about the idea of there perhaps being a tracker there, and that's the thought. But the movement is to immediately sort of move up against the door. So when on the other side of the opening, so when the door opens, I will be sort of hidden by this door. And as I move towards the door frame, I'm looking for that pot, right? The pot that it's like it's a nice one. It's one from Zarina's grandparents. It was a gift, and it's one of these. It's an old style pot made of cast iron that they've had right for ages, and it was a gift that they gave us, and we brought it out to this cabin, and because we thought this is like one of the places where you actually could use it, as opposed to like in the apartments where it wouldn't really be relevant, and all the times that we had actually cooked for real, because most of the time when we lived in the space station, we just got takeout, but like how we would cook in the smell of the food here. And so I just grab it as I move to the doorway, and as I stand on the side of the wall, I look at the scar while holding this cast iron pan.
Could you roll me an intellect check, please?
Maybe.
Intellect check of 3, just to
Mhm.
see how much you know.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Do I have any bonuses for my skills?
Hang on, let me go find your skills again.
Resisting persuasion or seduction? No. Pleasant social interactions?
You have a pan in your hand.
Okay, yeah, okay. And I doubt it's current events or stream journalism. This is great. I have initiative, but I don't think we're there just yet. I'm gonna say no. All right, it's fine. It's fine. It's cool. Don't worry about it. Okay. I'm afraid.
Okay.
I roll a 20.
Okay, so on that 20, you're almost like pressed up against the door with this pan in hand, and you know where all the floorboards are in this place. You don't make a creak, you don't make a sound, and you can hear those footsteps move, and you know there's just that one door that is not very thick, and you can even hear the breathing just through the crack as there's a pause for a moment. And then this person turns and doesn't walk away, but you know that along the decking, where you might have sat out in the summer or something to that effect, they seem to have, as you sort of look down, you hear it's the slightest wiggle. You see the handle almost if it's going to move, and then they stop, as if they second guess their own movements. And they start to walk very slowly. You can almost picture the creep as they sort of slowly move to where you know the kitchen window is, which would give them a view of both, well, at least the Solovac that's currently on the kitchen worktops, but also that they would see the other you in there. And you can hear that creak, but because you got a 20, you have time to act before they get to that window.
I know sightlines in this place well, and the other me is on a hover stretcher. I know that window. I think I would be able to push the hover stretcher up against. I think I can push it maybe against a counter in a way so that the sightline itself would be obscured from the sightline, and I think that I could just slide it over and then myself go underneath it, so neither one of us would be seen from the window space itself. And while I do that, it's like, again, there are these thoughts that happen in my mind sort of immediately, and I'm just like moving sort of quietly but swiftly, and I'm sliding underneath, and I'm like, Solovac. And I was like, and I'm like, is the Solovac visible? And I look for it to see if it might be seen in this window. If it's not,
you do see it sort of crane its neck up towards you and look. It's something that Solovacs do. They can, not a lot, but they can stretch their neck slightly to turn and sort of look around. And it sort of weirdly goes back down again, and it starts to move across the floor towards you. You know that if it gets towards you, the person shouldn't see it. You can probably, I would say, be able to see the window without them seeing you. There is, however, crockery all over the place. It's not broken. It doesn't look like a break-in or anything like that. If anything, it just looks like you left it in a mess. But this Solovac does sort of slowly come towards you, sort of looks at the granola bar, looks back at you, and slowly comes towards you.
I'm going to wrap the Solovac in a hug to keep it safe. And it's not at all for murder comfort. Like that's it is.
Yeah, okay.
You seem skeptical. It might be for comfort. It might be, my little murder pet might also be a comfort animal, is what I'm saying.
You sort of, at that moment, it sort of creeps underneath that sort of stretcher with you as this person's face. You don't see the face first. You see that breath that fogs on the glass. As in Mara, especially this time of year, it gets it's not too cold. It's not like snow or anything, but it gets much cooler. And you see, you can't quite make out from exactly where you are. You'd have to like look, but you can see what looks like a male's face. Human. Seems to be walking very upright there. You don't recognize the walk they have. Like, it doesn't look like Mercedes walks with a lot of pride and all of it. It's not like that. This is someone who is trying to be quiet, and you can see them. Almost the lights in the cabin are what's distorting the image, as you can see this pair of hands sort of over the top of the bridge to actually try and look in the window.
Haircut. Like, my first thought is haircut. Is this the haircut of a... You know, they're like surfer dudes, and there are like people who are assassins, and they tend to have different haircuts. I find, that like, if you're like a military.
Have you seen
type...
Point Break?
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Sometimes they have the same haircut. This is true.
Live wire logic.
Like, I'm trying to find.
Thank God it's a surfer.
Oh, we're safe. Hey, surfer. Wait. But I'm like looking for like that kind of military bearing, that sort of.
Okay, you can see it, and it doesn't look military in any way. It doesn't look very sharp or anything. If anything, it looks quite messy. It's a short haircut, but it's not well kept or anything like that. There's part of you that says you recognize it, but you can't see from where you are. It's almost the more you see the back of it, the more you recognize it.
And like, what if this is someone I know? I go back to the scar really quickly to see, because I'm afraid there might be a tracker in there. So I'm going to start pressing, and to see, right, sort of manipulating, palpitating that area to see if I can feel anything.
You can feel something very sort of solid there, but there's no flashing, there's no burning, there's no stinging. It's literally almost just like something there. And you do see that face start to move around from that window round to the other side, where there is another window. It's almost like a square end to the kitchen, and you can see they seem to be moving on, almost like they're scoping out the place. They don't seem like... You're very aware that they're not just breaking in, and you wouldn't be heard if you were broken into here.
Because we're in the middle of nowhere, right? Because this is a cabin in the woods, and so not in a creepy way. Well, and so if somebody were like, you could just break in, right? If you wanted to, you can probably. It wouldn't be difficult to do so. I want to. I imagine I lived in a cabin in the woods like this when I was very small, and there wasn't like a full upstairs. It was kind of like a loft kind of a space where like there was a kind of a wooden stairs up to a kind of a half loftish sort of space where like the bed would be. So I kind of imagine like there's like the big cabin with like kind of like a loft upper where you might have some things. I am going to. I don't know. Can I move to this other? Can I slide to their space, or if there's not enough time, what I might do is throw up an illusory image of the inside of the cabin without us in it, right where that window would be.
Okay, so you're trying to move first.
If I can't move, because I don't know if I have the time, right? Because there are pieces.
You can definitely move. I will get you to roll a speed check. You can move from that place to the other, but it will determine if you're noisy or not.
Yeah, I'm going to use my AI to craft sort of a virtual reality sort of image of the inside of this cabin, so the person on the other side will see it as empty without having to
You can do that. You can do that. I'll say you can do that straight away anyway.
Yeah, I just have to spend an intellect point for that.
You put the illusion up. It looks completely empty. It looks like there's no one else in here, not even a Solovac. Do you leave the cups and the crockery the same?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I just basically erase us from the image.
If anything, right now you feel you could stand up and this person wouldn't see you with how this image is gone.
Yeah. Like I imagine it's like a Hollywood green screen backdrop over the window. So you look and you're like, oh, it looks fine. But I want to see if I can just shift so I could get a better look at who this person is.
Okay, so you put up this this image of the cabin, and you can see this person has stopped by the other window, and they seem to be leaning in, again being very careful with their steps. You notice they're checking behind them and to either side of themselves very quickly. You can tell as you sort of stand, or at least go from sort of fairly stealthily from one side, you can see they look worried. And you sort of get closer and closer. And could you roll me a stealth check for your feet? A stealth check. A speed check, please.
Speed check.
Straight up, just to see.
I will do it. It is happening.
Yeah.
Difficulty 5.
You tiptoe over there like a ballerina and don't. Again, you're moving from different floorboard to floorboard. You remember every creak, every single spot. The Solovac is still very much clung around your chest. It's not moved, it's clamped there. And you can almost get right up to the window, and you can be inches from this person's face as they look in, and they don't see you at all. And you can see this worried face, and you notice as they put a hand up to look in, that same scar as they look in. And almost at that moment, as they go to turn away, they turn to the side, and you do recognize them, but you've never seen them properly in person before. You've only ever seen them shot on the footage at the police station, the man who got shot.
Oh. The man who got shot. And I didn't know his did he give his name? I remember sitting in the waiting room. Did he give his name at all?
He said he was an anomaly.
He said he was an anomaly. And very quiet, right before he turns, when I see the scar, I just say, loud enough that he could hear me through the thin glass, I will say, how did you find me?
And at that, he sort of freezes in his step as he looks like he's about to keep moving along the side of the house. And he turns to look at you, quickly puts a finger to his lips, and then taps the same place where his arm is. And at that, I think we will jump over to where we left Loxy, Hybria, and Zarina last week. And at this moment, Loxy, you felt almost like your stomach go as the ground beneath you started to sort of move and break away, and the rest of you sort of look around, and you can see as the floor starts to rise, and this huge creature sort of erupts from these sort of bits of android, bits of metal, bits of wire, all of that was left just pouring off of this creature's body. You can see that face, a very ghostly, very human face, wrapped up in wires, an amalgamation of all of these different wires and body parts almost massed together. But it has multiple legs, and you can see this thing is so big that one of the legs is currently trying to pull itself up by jamming itself into the side of the building and pulling itself up. Loxy, you can easily either glide off or stay up. But Zarina and Hybria, that's when you turn around.
Are my danger senses like going
Are
off?
tingling, yes.
Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna try to stay on it.
Okay, could you roll me a speed check just to see how well you keep your balance on there, please? Yeah. What does it look like as Loxy, the ground beneath you's literally moved up, and you're about 100 feet in the air right now.
Okay. I'm gonna grab some of the loose wiring to steady myself. Or the loose wiring and whatever sort of mechanical, I don't know if there's like joints or like bars or things, but whatever I can just grab onto to steady myself as the ground is moving beneath me.
Yep.
Do I see the face from where I'm standing?
You can see it because it is a mass of wires, but the reason you notice it is because you were so close to stepping on it, and it shifts like a machine into a spiral as it moves around, and it sort of slots down beneath you so it can look towards Hybria and Zarina. You have a feeling it doesn't know you're here, but it has sensed Zarina and Hybria.
Okay, then I'm gonna stay quiet, holding on to this thing.
Cool.
What is Arena and Hybria doing?
That's a great question, Alice.
I think Hybria would noticing that Loxie's over there but doesn't seem to be in direct danger. She's going to just do what she does best, and because she's, we haven't really talked about it, but she is really trained in might and speed, and she never gets to use it. So she's just going to be like, well, this is certainly not ideal, but Zarina, you stay here, get Loxie, and I'm gonna try and distract it. And she's just gonna run and try and drive it or pull it away from her friends until they figure out what the heck is going on.
Roll me a might check, please.
Okay.
Did it roll? Why didn't it roll? Roll. Why isn't it rolling? I'm clicking the button.
Hang on, I'll see if I can do it.
Oh, wait. It's because it wants me to put in difficulties and whatever. I think
straight up
effort sounds good. Yeah, there we go. That's a 2. No, that's a 12. So I have an advantage. I think I'm going to use an advantage. This seems like a good time for that. Okay, 17.
Okay. Definitely on that. How are you maneuvering it away? And Zarina, are you saying anything to Hybria before or is Hybria just going straight into?
I mean, Hybria was going straight, so she's like, okay. I think that's it.
Yeah. And she'll give you a thumbs up, and George another thumbs up. And I think in Hybria's mind, she's still all fashion modded up from her ring. So she's picturing sleek leather boots, parkouring off of buildings, her sleek black hair is tumbling elegantly Bayonetta style around her as she darts around. But in reality, her hair is a big puffy frizzy humid mess, and she's barefoot, and she's still parkouring and doing the flips and all that stuff, but the cinematic isn't quite the same.
Yeah.
She looks more like a bag lady just jumping around.
You're yeah.
Sorry, go on, Zarina.
No, you're good.
I was going to say, Zarina, what you see, and Loxie, what you also see, just from a slightly different angle, is Hybria start to run, and using both part of this creature and also this debris around it, almost start to scale up the side of this building and this creature, and you see this huge creature just throws this huge arm built up of just metal and wire, and you can see sharp, sort of almost like blades, crash through one of the old buildings of Nalmerius and lodge in. And Hybria, you almost use that as a stepping stone to get higher.
Okay.
Just running, just keep running, just keep running.
Well, that's happening. I am trained in identifying and assessing danger, lies, quality, importance, function, or power. This is a machine. It's got to have a power source that we can disable. So I'd like to identify what's causing this to run, where its motherboard is, or its power source, or something like that. What? How is this thing working?
You watch it and you sort of see the movement. You can see the ground around it, but also all of the wires that, as much as they look like a mangled sort of nest, you notice quite a few of them all seem to feed in as some of them pulse.
Okay.
And this soft glow goes to them, and you can see they're all feeding towards the face. And the face itself, as much as it looks completely human and very sort of realistic skin, you can see a pulse behind it, and it's very much like the heart pulses that you felt in the ground.
I think she'll yell towards that Hybria then, behind the face! And, having identified that, look for anything sharp! 'Cause I don't have any weapons, so...
Okay.
Yep.
I will say there is lots of things around that you can pick up if you want to. There's bars, there's bits of metal if you want to grab anything like that.
If there's a nice sharp metal something or other, like a shard.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
like when you peel back.
It looks like, I was gonna say, it's been snapped off of something almost. It looks like it's been cut sharp. It's almost like looks like it was part of something before and it's just gone into a.
It's been
thin
sheared
point
off.
at the end.
Cool. That's what she'll pick up.
Loxy, what are you doing?
I'm examining this thing and trying to figure out if there's anything I can do from where I am, like to either pull out wires or maybe dismantle it in any way. This thing is intelligent, is it?
You can definitely see that it's got the fact, as much as it's going after Hybria, almost like a distraction, it is very aware and it is pinpointing sections. If anything, from where you are, you can see its movement is almost like assessing where Hybria is going to go next.
Okay.
Could you roll me an intellect check, please? I'll say of 2 because this is a machine.
And I have is that including my machine interface, which okay.
I'll take that into account.
Difficulty 2 you said, or?
Yes, please.
I'm gonna use my one advantage in this instance. Wait, was that an advantage or a crit? I forgot.
You have
What's the
crit.
order?
You
Can I
have a
use
crit.
my crit?
Yes. You sort of, as you're sort of moving atop of this creature, you can see that it is now using multiple of these like huge legs, almost like large blades. Sort of, you can see they're just seconds behind Hybria, as Hybria is moving at high speed across the buildings, but also the creature itself, just on the lower sort of levels of it. You can see that it is intelligent. You heard Zarina shout, and you have this notion of, there are wires you could rip out. You need to get almost behind the face and destroy whatever is there. But if it sees you, or it's not distracted, it could be pretty bad.
I'm gonna flip my goggles down. try to assess where exactly I need to go from where I am.
Okay, I'll say on that
GPS.
crit 20, you can definitely see effectively like a trajectory of how if you jumped off, you would literally be curving back in to go underneath the creature or whatever this thing is. But you could, it's either going to be achieved from you swooping underneath it or someone running beneath it, but there's a lot of legs down there.
I will send a text to Zarina and Hybria that says, we gotta get under it, but watch the legs.
Okay. Hybria, what are you doing?
I'm confused because one of them said go for behind the face and the other one said get under it.
The face is sort of just underneath it. It's almost like
I understand.
Down towards where the
Okay, cool.
belly of the beast is.
So I'm gonna start heading in that direction, with my little tippy tappy steps and curving around and this and that. As I am running, I would also like to attempt to rip off one of the legs and use it as my own weapon. I'll be like, oh, Zarina has a weapon. That is an excellent idea.
Roll me a might of 4. These things are big, but at the same time, I think you're tuning into your AI right now.
Difficulty 4?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I have edge, which means it's difficulty 3.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And you know what? Gonna put some effort in this as well because this all seems scary. Oh, that didn't work. You know what? I'm just gonna roll that advantage again because I might as well just, burn through these things. It happens, and yay, it happened.
What does it look like as you literally rip this leg off of this creature? It looks like one of the front, almost like pincers, but it's a moment where you feel like your muscles you recognize your muscles aren't just human muscles anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely like she's running and she's like, okay, this is pretty cool. And I'm picturing like the pincers trying to like jab at her, but she like anime darts out of the way perfectly in time with each one. And then as she like backflips over one of them, as the pincer comes down, she'll like grab it with both hands and just like haul it over with her until she just has this like giant leg in her hands. And, her AI brain is just going to be like, oh, so this is what it is like to run at full capacity. Excellent. Off we go. And I'm going to try and get under it and gut it.
Okay. And Zarina, what you see is literally Hybria move sort of in this swirl motion through the air. And as she rips this leg off of, you see this shatter of different bits of metal and wires and this almost not an explode, but just so much sort of sparks of electricity fire off of this huge sort of joint where it was. And Hybria, as you do, you look down at your arms and there's a very soft pulse of blue glow where your muscles and bones are just for a moment as you grip hold of this thing and land just behind it. Zarina, what are you doing?
I think there seems to be a lot of competent people going for exactly behind the face, and she doesn't want to get in the way, so she'll just quickly to George go, "Stay safe, George!" And I think she'll start heading down towards that area. She's looking for one of the pulsing cables. Not quite, like all the way behind the face, but just one of them. Go to sever it. Just to maybe...
I will let you roll either a might or speed check. You have a choice.
They're the same for me. I mean, it's not intelligence, so we'll do speed, I guess. And I'll use an edge. Or effort, rather, yeah.
Okay. What does it look like as Zarina moves, dodging, again, actually quite a lot of debris coming off of from where Hybria just ripped this leg off of, but also what does it look like as she severs? You see this huge, almost like tube. At first you think it's metal, it's not. It's like this giant wire that would normally deliver all the electricity underneath the tarmac of Nalmiris, and it is pulsing. What would it look like?
It's very quick motions. She's got the basically long fall legs, so she can kind of jump down a bit, not all the way, but jump down to another level. See one of those pulsing cables, just take the sharpened edge and give it a hack, almost like she's butchering something. And then I'm imagining, because when you cut a cable, oftentimes one end snakes away, so she's gonna let the dead end snake away, but grab the live end, and so she wants to do something with that next round.
Okay, you sort of see it, or you almost duck out of the way as this other one sort of recoils, as it sort of zaps back almost, and Loxley, you feel the whole shift move as this creature on one side starts to tip and creak, and you can hear from somewhere, it's almost like a human scream, but sounds very mechanical.
I mean, it's upsetting.
It sounds more mechanical than human.
Do I
Sure.
do I see any active wires right now from where
You
I
can
am?
see you actually see from where you are, you can just see over the edge, and you see Zarina move, not beneath, but just in front, and slice some of those wires. You can see multiple, almost like lots and lots of little ones bunched together that seem to be jammed in at the top, that also seem to be pulsing, and they all lead lower. You can see they're all heading in the same direction.
Can I reach any of them?
Yeah, you can definitely reach some of them.
I want to try to grab some wire cutters out of my pocket. Just start snipping. Snipping in my head this thing.
Okay, can you roll me a speed check to stay up? And you can definitely snip the wires and things like that as you start doing this.
Red wire, the blue wire.
I was going to say you're actually 3 minutes.
Maybe I will spend an effort in this case. Or spend some of my pool for an effort. What?
Oh no!
Okay.
I don't have anything to help this, so
Chat.
rip, y'all.
You have a moment of you're sort of fumbling with your wire cutters, and you do catch them, but at that moment it lurches forward, and you're sort of so concentrated on the wire cutters you don't see this secondary smaller arm come over the top and just crunch down on top of you, and it just sort of like removes you from its body, and you realize you're almost not in like a cage, but it's like where its fingers are sort of closed over. It doesn't keep you in there. But Zarina, you just see Loxy in this thing, and Loxy, you are flung with the same with this arm into the side of one of the buildings as all the glass crashes along the side. Could you take 2 damage, please?
And do I take that out of a physical, or is it might, or is
Might.
it? Okay.
Might, please. But you're crashing. Okay, so and Zarina, from where you are, that moment you sort of look up as you dodge this thing. You see this almost huge line carved into the side of this building as that glass shatters around the side, and you can see Loxy. And Loxy, at the end of this, as much as it leaves, you hit this building, you start to drop.
Great.
Ouch.
Hybria, is your turn.
Okay. Did I see that?
Hang on. Are you underneath already, or
I think so. I mean, I run really fast because of my endurance, I think. So
you would have definitely heard it.
Mhm.
I would say you could hear the building crashing and things like that. And if Loxy, would you made a noise, or is it like a silent sort of gasp and oh no?
It probably would have been like a what?
You would have heard a Loxy noise.
Okay. How close am I to the face?
I would say with how fast you can move, you'd be there pretty quick. As much
Like
as this
this
thing
turn?
is big, it's very central. Yeah, you could definitely get there this turn.
Okay. So I am going to, just kind of call out dramatically, Loxy! But still, sprint for the face, got my big, giant leg thing, and I just want to stick that robot's leg into the back of its face.
Okay, roll a might check for me, please.
In a stabby motion.
Might check of 4, please.
Okay, I will reduce that to 3 because of my edge.
Like
I
beating
am
somebody with their own arm.
dead. Yeah, I figured it'd be a stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Yay! I did it.
You sort of like take this machine, you sort of heave it up. It is heavy still, but almost the adrenaline and everything going on. You jam this metal in and you start to run along, sort of carving it out at the side.
Nice.
Serena, you can see Hybria coming towards the face, and you see that pulse almost from the wire you're holding getting faster and faster. You hear a screech, you hear a yell from this face. You can't quite see it from where you are yet, but what do you do?
So I've got this live wire here.
Serena's always grabbing the live wires.
And I would like to, I could scan it, but I feel like I don't have time to waste for that. So what I'm going to try to do is I want to cause it some issues. So I'm going to try to, with my mechanical hand, kind of like interface, and I want to erase memories to kind of disorient and confuse it.
Okay, roll me an intellect check, please.
Sure thing.
Straight
So
up.
we're gonna, like, cool. Cool. Oh wait, not that one. This, cool. There we go. Alright, because it costs some straight up intellect. Sure. I'm gonna use an advantage. 12.
Okay, describe what it looks like to me. What does
So,
Serena look like as she
Usually
does this?
it's from her eye. She looks into somebody, looks at somebody in the electrical, it's like a electromagnetic kind of interference that she sends out, but because she's got this wire here and she makes the connection via her metal arm, and I think that eye just kind of, again, turns from that blue that it normally is to purple, and then red, as she basically just scrambles just the memory ever since it came up. Just like, goodbye, what are you doing here? We don't know. Haha. You don't know what you're doing. Who are these people? What? So just basically just scrambling, and she's just handing the wire, that one eye kind of doing that little loop thing until the...
Yeah, it sort of starts to glow and sort of swirl, and as you
I imagine
sort of
maybe like the colors
jam-
kind of like a little red goes down the blue wire.
That's
like
exactly
that.
what it's sort of like as it shoots down. I will say, Hybria, from where you are, you almost see like this shudder in both the creature and just that air around it, and this red light sort of almost pulsate like a scan over it. And as you're running towards the head of this creature, slicing as you hit it, it starts to flail wildly. It is
Because also, if it's been
into the
collecting
side.
data on our abilities, it would have just dumped that. So it's got to start over.
It crashes. It sort of starts
Yeah.
not tilting, but it is staggering into one of the sides of the buildings. Loxit, you are free. You are currently falling. You can definitely open and glide. You hurt, and it's more that you can feel almost like one of your, not so much the wings, but the arm on your wing it's bleeding a little bit, more from just small shards of glass. There's no real like broken bone or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to catch myself with
You
my
can
glide.
definitely do that automatically. You can do that automatically. Are you just landing where you are, or are you turning back?
I'd probably turn back. I'd just pop my feathers out, glide around, head back towards the action. And where can I get? I guess is my question.
As it moves, it tips upwards. You hear a screech of like more of metal breaking as you see Hybria ascends. It's almost like not fire, but just the amount of sparks that are pouring out of this creature and this red pulse going over it from Zarina. You see it start to tip. You can get underneath it, but it would be low to the ground. So like you would be skimming underneath the ground to get towards the face as it tips.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Let's do that.
Okay. Roll me a speed check just to avoid everything coming. Just to see
Please
degree.
be kind to me. 16.
Yeah, almost from the adrenaline, you can feel that sting in your arm. It's more of a sting than anything. They still work perfectly fine, and you sort of, as this creature is falling and bits of the buildings are sort of dropping from where it threw you and crashed into the other side, you're maneuvering in between all of these bits of debris, and you can almost just sort of skid. You can feel almost that flap of the tops of your head where the feathers skim underneath the top of this creature, and you can... And Zarina, you feel this whoosh as Loxie comes herring past, and you can meet Hybria in the middle. I will say, all three of you, this looks like it needs one more hit as to where it is, and this thing is going to crash, but it's going to crash down. Hybria, what would you like to do?
All right, so I'm with my friends. We all meet up. I'm like leaning on this giant leg thing that I have jammed in this head thing. I feel like at this point I'm maybe sweating. Do robots sweat? Who knows? But she kind of like, seeing her friends are like relatively okay, and in front of her, she'll like sort of collapse on the ground. Not the ground, but like collapse onto this creature, and just like, as if like taking a really big gasp of breath, she is going to use her drain machine ability, just completely like subconsciously, not even realizing that she's doing it, but like she's like heaving for breath because she had just been pushing this thing, and then her eyes like light up blue and her hair lights up blue, and I'm gonna use my crit on that. Nice. So I'm going to gain back 5 points to divide between my speed pool and my might pool, and the GM determines whether or not the device is fully drained, or retains some power.
Okay. So it's almost, Loxie, as you arrive, you come to a halt and you see Hybria starting to glow, and this hair just sort of erupts into this light as well. And Zarina, from where you are, you see this very big pulse of light, and you notice the creature itself, Hybria, as you sort of almost, you can reach up into it, and as you do, it just shakes and shudders. The face itself, you are sort of centimeters away from. The mouth stretches down, sort of less human now, very, very mechanical. Its eyes completely hollow as they sort of glow the same color as you, and you can feel this creature die. The electricity, everything of the power just leaves it, but it starts to fall.
Good night, sweet prince. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Zarina, what would you like to do?
I'm on top of it, so I'm less concerned than those underneath. But just, for safety reasons, I've got my long jump. I just want to jump to safety.
Okay, could you, well, I tell you what, roll a speed just to see how it looks.
Yeah, sure. Did it go? Okay, there it is.
Yeah, describe what it looks like. You can have a
looks
superhero landing
cool.
with that one. Like...
So I think she pulls her hand out, kind of maybe flicks off some, coolant from the tube, drops as it's like flickering out, and looks, sees like a nice little ledge or something, and just wipes her hand off, and then almost like a runner taking off, puts a foot on part of the machinery behind her and just does a jump forward. And it's just like a long jump, like a standing long jump.
You sort of do a proper jump, like you leave the vicinity of
lands,
this area.
And she doesn't land in the roll because she doesn't need to worry about her knees because they're mechanical, and so it's just cool landing.
When you land, you do crush some of the debris sort of beneath you. It almost just, there you go, superhero landing, gotta have it. Loxy, Hybria has just sort of stopped this creature beneath you, and you know you need to get out fast. What would you like to do?
Get out fast.
Yeah. Are you... Go for it. What would you do?
Oh, sorry, what were you gonna ask?
No, you go for it.
Well, I was gonna say, I'd like to take off running unless there's any point I could run up, like, here's what I want to do. Tell me if this is possible in the terrain and everything. I want to find a spot where I could, like, almost like a ramp, like run up, jump off of maybe like a building and then glide away, because I feel like that might be faster.
Yeah, go for it. Roll a speed check for me, please.
After I roll that one, I'm so nervous.
I'm nervous. You go to land, and there's a moment where you land right next to, you don't land, you sort of come to a sort of halt before, as Hybria does, and the bit of debris just hits up and hits that arm, and you just feel just that moment, it's just too much, and you sort of, Hybria in front of you, you just see Loxy crash, sort of a little bit of a skidding halt. There's some of the metal and debris that comes up across it, but your arm it's not broken or anything, but it is painful. It's more that it's already hit a damaged arm and you've gone down. And Hybrid, as you're looking at this thing, bits of it, it's almost like since you've taken the power out of it, it's falling to bits. There's nothing keeping it together anymore, and Loxy's just crash landed in front of you.
Like right in front of me?
Pretty much. It's two steps away.
Convenient. Well, as this thing is falling away, Hybria's just, because it did make a humanish sound at some point, so she's not really sure like how to treat it. She'll just like put a hand on the face and just say, "Death is nothing at all. It does not count. I have only slipped way into the next room. Nothing has happened." Death is Nothing at All by Henry Scott Holland. And then she's just going to like lean down, scoop up Loxy, and she's just going to try and parkour out of there.
Okay, could you roll me a speed or might check, please?
Oh yeah, I got the speed. Bye 20.
Okay, you almost, as you sort of break into a run, you start off almost on your hands and knees at first, pushing yourself back up, and you tear sort of as fast as you can. And Loxy, there's a brief moment where you sort of look up and you don't feel Hybria stop for you. She just sort of scoops you up and you keep going, and you can see all of this debris, almost like a building's collapsing over the top of you. And Hybria, you are able to move sort of dart in between each thing as it goes past. And Zarina, after you've landed, you sort of stop and you can turn and you see this whole thing crash to the ground. This metal, this everything, part of the building drops as it falls onto it. This almost like this debris and powder sort of
And as it's
smoke
crashing,
way.
I'm just keeping my eyes for where George lands.
You
I can
see
dig him out.
George, he
Unless
seems
he
to
jumps.
he doesn't jump, but he seems to be running as well.
I did tell him
And
to keep safe.
You told him to run and keep safe. So he seems to have been like moving. He actually seems to be coming towards you since you've landed. But as this almost eruption of smoke and dirt and dust comes sort of erupting towards you, he sort of not throws himself over you, but stands almost like a shield and puts his arms around you, and you can feel it almost like heat hit you.
Oh,
But
thank you,
Hybria
George.
and Loxy, it's just like, no problem, and you can feel like a pat as that happens. And Hybria, you can effectively walk out of this smoke on a nat 20.
Feel like it's more of a, like a jumping, like explosion action sequence. Is, her frizzy hair. She's got Loxy in one arm. She's like, "That was well done, Loxy. Let us get to safety."
Thanks. Loxy's pride is really hurt right now.
Hybria probably doesn't notice. Very low emotional intelligence from Hybria.
But this creature has fallen. You can see some of the buildings sort of fallen on top of it. The pulsing stops. You can't feel it anymore. And as it does, you can all sort of group back together as this smoke wave hits. And you stand again in the old part of Nalmerius. And over with Cantor. Cantor, you've been led down many a staircase. In fact, they're all very similar. They're incredibly repetitive. You have a feeling there's probably a reason it's repetitive. These are not just one path down. There's lots that thread off almost like a maze into different directions, different levels, and everything sort of like that. But Fliss is sort of half skipping, moving pretty fast sort of in front of you. She holds your hand, half dragging you along. And there's a moment where the steps end and it opens into this very almost, it looks like it was a doorway to a home once, like a big industrial door, but everything's collapsed on top of it and fallen into it. And she leads you through into this huge space, almost like a domed roof. It's almost like it's been dug out of metal itself, which doesn't make sense. But everything here is built up of debris, sheets of metal, wires. And this is a whole city underground. And you can see alleyways, markets. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people down here living like they do on the surface of Nalmerius. You can smell food. You can hear laughing. You can hear chatting. You can hear merchants trying to sell their wares. And you can see a lot of color. Very different from the surface itself. A lot of it looks like bits of material that hasn't been made here. I think it's been scavenged. But as she sort of moves you through the city, she smiles and every now and then sort of stops and says hello, still sort of dragging you through. You can see bars, you can see places to eat. You can see mechanics. Martites and Tellurians seem to be here. There's a lot of them here, particularly the Martites. And she sort of pauses for a moment, reaches over at a stand where there's a little lady, and she takes a stick with something on it and hands it to you.
This is tasty if you want to try it.
Oh, okay.
It's nice.
He won't.
She looks at you very expectantly.
He doesn't sniff it or like taste. He just bites into it, whatever it might be. It could be cold. It could be hot. He's not sure until it passes his
It's like
lips.
this hot, doughy, almost like 4 or 5 dough balls, almost like on a stick, and it's in something that's delicious. You're not too sure what it is, but you see her walk over and take a few more, and she's sort of clutching them in her hand. She's really good. Anyway, this is well, welcome to the Broken City. We don't have any cars down here though. They're not allowed. Not enough room.
Okay.
He sort of smiles, looks around.
Right, Archer. Okay,
Archer.
this way.
And she starts to sort of weave you through all these people. And there's lots and lots of people. You do see these huge pipes sort of belching out steam, which has made it very, very hot down here. You think this is being fed out of the energy from the upper city. You see people propped up against them. You can see large sort of ranging from very small market stalls to huge spaces. There is a lot of mechanics down here. You can see some black market traders for mods down here. There's a lot of them. And every single person, every single human you see is probably modded a lot more than average. Some of them, you can only see just their eyes, or their complete face is gone, or you can see all the way across the shoulder. And she leads you further and further in. You can hear a rumble from somewhere of something going on, but it's a very, very busy place. And you can see a lot of Tellurians walking around in groups. In fact, as you sort of walk past one of them, there's a group of 5 or 6 that give you a very comforting smile and nod. And they hold out their hands in the traditional way as greeting. And they continue to move on. And there's a few of them that you can see, as much as they're wearing loose robes, you can see the mechanics from their face all the way down beneath their chest and sort of goes further beneath their robes. And one of them does stop. And Fliss almost doesn't notice, but she's sort of trying to tug you along. And this Tellurian looks to you. His eyes are quite intense looking, not in an aggressive way. But this Tellurian is about 7 foot tall, very, very wide and broad sort of forehead, very small mouth, very bright eyes, and almost a sandy color, but with a slight metallic sheen to it. And sort of looks at you and tips their head to the side again, looks down at Fliss, puts their hand on Fliss's head, who smiles back up at them. But he holds a hand out to you. Hello.
Hello.
And he sort of takes a step forward, and he's sort of craning his neck almost to look down towards you. Are you here for Archer?
Yes. Archer.
Sort of tips his head a moment. May I ask why?
I'd be lost without him.
You see, as much as there's a very small mouth, it smiles slightly. There's not really any lips or anything. It's just almost like a small slit. But it's a very soft and warm smile. He nods. I thought that would be the case. And the voice itself is very, very soft. He's like, well, perhaps I may take you there with Fliss's permission, of course. And you can see Fliss like,
He's at the races.
and he just sort of shakes his head. Not at the moment. He's teaching at the moment. And he sort of turns and looks towards you again, Cantor. I am Obria. And you are?
Cantor.
It is good to speak with you, Cantor. The voice told me you were coming. So I take it upon my person to take you there myself. If, and he sort of looks down at Fliss, Miss permits me to. And she sort of folds her arms across her chest and glares a little bit, but does nod.
Cantor would look down at Fliss. Not sure if they've been together long enough, but it's a very open expression on his face, basically asking if he should, trust this person.
Fliss seems to clock that very quickly and looks up then.
He's boring, but you can trust him. I'll come with you just in case.
Okay.
And she sort of holds onto your hand a little tighter, almost worried that this Tellurian was going to make her leave at the same time. But she sort of holds it, like puts her nose to the air and walks past the Tellurian and starts heading towards what you later learn is another part of a district. The Broken City has district upon district down here. And it's all been created underground. And you can feel like this gush of wind and the heat coming from somewhere, and roars and cheering coming from the opposite direction to where you're going, and there's almost loud drum and wire and whir of machines from the opposite direction. And Fliss sort of looks at
I can take you there later if you want.
Maybe.
The races are fun, but I'm not allowed to participate until I'm much older, if at all, says Archer, anyway.
Okay.
and she smiles. And she sort of keeps to leading you a bit further, and you enter this space. Again, it's, for being made out of debris and metal, it's beautiful. And could you roll me an intellect check, please? Straight up, actually. Okay.
9.
As you step sort of into this, it starts off almost like a corridor made up of metal and things like that. And as you walk down this corridor, there's a door at the end. You can hear everything going on around you. There's the buzz of the broken city. But as you blink, there's a moment of not recognition, but familiarity and similarity. In the corridors with the double door, the white walls. And as the Tellurian moves a few paces in front of you and Fliss, he opens those doors into a very circular, large domed room. And as you sort of, before you even reach the threshold, you look up and there's this flash for a moment. And you look down at your hands, and Fliss isn't there, but a little girl is holding your hand, the one from the apartment. And the two boys from the photo run to greet you and laugh and smile.
I found you.
And almost as you say that, sorry, go on.
Yeah, he would kneel down to hug them.
As you sort of kneel down, you reach out, and they're both smiling. If you reach out, you sort of pass straight through them, and it's almost like the hot air, the judderiness, as you're brought back to this room that
No.
is
Okay.
built in such a shape that is recognizable to mimic something, but it's not right. You can see other children in here. You can see other people. You can see a very large Tellurian at the back. In fact, he seems to be over 8 feet tall.
Archer, is he, are the kids here? Are they here?
You feel that hand holding yours again, and it's flesh.
He's just over there.
And as she points, you can see a young man. And you'd almost say the spitting image of Hybria at first. But you can see the familiarities you're picking up. And there's two things you recognize. One, you can see that little boy's face now into a grown man. But also on that first day when this all began, when the Watchers were walking around with a photo asking if you'd seen this man, he sat there over the other side of the room, but this time you recognize him.
Archer? I found you.
For a moment there's a pause, and you can see everyone in the room stops and looks. And you can see at the palm of Archer's hands as he turns and looks towards you, he's got his hands held out, and you can see 4 or 5 sort of orbs that are glowing and rotating around, and you can see the children sat around him trying to mimic. Some of them aren't quite perfect circles, some of them are different colors, some of them are sort of all over the place, some can't get the full amount. But as he stops and turns, he closes his hands and the lights switch off. And he stands up. Oh, he looks fairly smart. And he stands in robes and trousers and with a hood sort of dropped down at the back. Very sort of heavy looking boots. Looks like it walks over the debris and things like that. And a pair of goggles round his neck. Everyone out. And Fliss looks at you for a moment. Is that,
Good luck.
and she sort of turns around, and along with the other children
Thank you.
and everyone else in that room, they leave. Close the door behind you. And you can hear that click of the door. And on the other side of this room, this young man stands. And you can see his eyes watering a little bit, but he's trying to stay very composed and stand upright. And there's a moment of silence. Everything apart from, you can't hear anything other than the sort of the chatter as everyone sort of descends back out of the hall. And then he moves very, very quickly across the room and throws his arms around you. And you can feel this hug very tight. You feel the grip of his fingers sort of sinking into your shoulders. And he sort of buries his head in your shoulders.
Cantor would return the hug and embrace as hard as he can, and he would just be saying over and over again, I forgot, I couldn't remember, I couldn't remember, I've missed so much.
And you can just hear, sort of almost muffled in your shoulder, like, I know. And sort of withdraws but doesn't let go and holds onto your shoulders. He's like, do you want tea?
Okay.
I'll make it for you this time. And he sort of walks over, and you watch, there's this almost very square, like pot spherical, which I guess is almost like a teapot sort of shape, but he puts his hand on the side of it and you see it slowly warm up and start to steam before he starts to pour into 2 mugs hot tea. And he looks at you, you can sit down.
Okay.
Tea.
Okay.
How did you find me?
And he fumbles and pulls out the picture.
And he sort of smiles and reaches into his almost like a jacket and pulls out exactly the same. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you have it again.
Me too. I'd be lost without it.
You always said that. Yeah.
What happened?
Honestly, I don't know all of it, but we did so much, so you couldn't find out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Alana tried to stop him, but they sent you the parcel and everything. Just, I know you weren't supposed to remember, but look what I've done. I'm doing what you did. Look, it's kind of like the same. I mean, it's not as pristine. I don't think Mac would like it.
No, what happened to me?
And he sort of looks down at the mug he holds in his hands for a moment. You made yourself forget. You made us all forget. Well, not all of us. And you can see a sadness in his face at that, but it's not a begrudging one. You made Mac forget. You forgot. But you had to. You said you had to. That's, part of it.
I don't remember anything.
You weren't supposed to. I mean, I'm surprised it lasted this long. I didn't expect Mac to go and set up a food giant or whatever it is he's managed to do, but then he didn't know.
And he doesn't know what to say, so he has his two notebooks, and he looks at the blue one and he looks at the red one, and then he opens the blue one and he turns it to near the end, and he points to Trust Hybria. Your sister.
And you can see his face sort of relax, where he's like, wait, you know Hybria?
She's my friend.
Is she here? Is she okay?
Yes.
Good. Yes, you can trust her. She's other than you and the others, the other one of us. They're the only ones I do trust. And my students, of course.
Of course.
They're in the early stages, they're still learning, but there's 4 of them that have it. So,
Oh, good.
I'm trying to do everything you taught me. I practice all the time. I try and pass on your words of wisdom.
I have what?
The Aether gene. And he sort of like holds his hand up, and there's like this pulse from his hand as this sort of green light erupts upwards and starts to sort of just create shapes and move things around. And he lifts the mug of tea out of your hand for a moment and separates the tea and the mug itself before putting it back in and placing it very gently back in your hand.
That's beautiful. Could you teach me?
You taught it to me.
Could you teach me?
And he smiles. That's a role reversal I wasn't expecting. Yeah. I mean, I had the best teacher to show me how to do it, so...
Okay.
He's a bit bossy, though.
Okay.
And he smiles. Drink your tea, though. It's exactly how you like it.
Okay. He would. He'd take a drink of it.
And it is. It's almost like you didn't know that was how you liked your tea. But it is. Someone had to remember it. I've spoken to Alana. She said she saw you. Yeah.
She wearing white.
Yes. Yeah. I told her that's not a good idea. Like, it makes her kind of obvious in a crowd, but that's Alana.
I won't tell anybody.
She didn't think you would. But she's safe. She's fine. She's not here at the moment. We have to try and keep away from each other as much as possible.
Okay. He would point to the third child on the picture. Where?
Aiden.
Aiden.
We're not on the best of terms. I don't know where he is right now, and I'm not allowed to.
Maybe I could find him like I found you, if he's lost.
He's not lost. He just doesn't want to be found. He'll find you. That's how he works. I haven't seen him for years, I think. I don't know. It's kind of all the same down here. Honestly.
And he would flip back in the blue book almost towards the beginning, and it would say trust Loxy, and there would be a kind of a little sketch of what Loxy looks like. This is my oldest friend.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
What's their name?
He looks down. Loxy.
She seems nice.
Could you teach her too?
He sort of looks. Maybe we'd have to test it. See if it worked. I mean, I know you can do it, but I can teach you again.
She's helped me out.
Hey, if you trust her, then I trust her.
He looks down at the book again. I do.
He sort of looks at the book, and he sort of holds a hand out almost as if to take it, but doesn't take it off you, sort of just almost asks with his eyes.
He would offer the blue one to him.
He sort of looks through. Cantor, what is this?
It's things that are safe to remember.
Okay. I'll be honest, I didn't expect you to turn up for either forever or at least another 10 years or so. I didn't know how, if your little trick meant you wouldn't remember anything ever again.
Dreams. I think it comes back in dreams.
He smiles again. As you said to me, dreams are exaggerations of life. They're not. It's memories. They've got to come from somewhere. Even if bizarre. But I don't know what to do now. So you don't remember everything.
He looks down at the red notebook. Maybe.
And his eyes sort of cast towards the red notebook as well. You don't have to read it. Why don't we finish this tea and go for a walk? Walks clear the mind.
Okay.
And he sort of not downs his tea. He sort of sits in silence for a while. And then stands, puts his mug down, and sort of shrugs on a heavier, longer coat with a hood. I've missed you. Can you miss me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll show you the races. That's what I'll do. And you can help me convince Fliss that she's never allowed to be in them. Come on, this way. And he sort of offers a hand out almost as he opens the door.
He would take the hand, but then he would look down at it and look at Archer and say, "This isn't our thing, is it?"
And he smiles, and there's a flash for a moment where you see the little boy Archer in front of you opening the door and holding your hand. And a little girl runs forward
Archer, that's my thing.
and takes your hand and leads you out of the door. And Archer shrugs. And then the adult Archer sort of back looking down at your hand. He's like, nah. He sort of opens the door for you to walk through.
He would move to go through the door, but as he would pass Archer, he would wrap him in another hug.
And he would hug back and he wouldn't let go. And I think you stay there a while. There's no one in the corridor. The door is only just slightly ajar as you hear it close and click shut. But he doesn't let go.
And Cantor would say, "You don't have to remember to miss someone."
He smiles. It's more that you feel the smile. You don't see it. Is it? That sounds like something you'd say. And
Good.
it's true.
Good.
Because I did. A lot. And so does Alana.
Miss you all.
Yeah. And you can just feel that last sort of tight squeeze. As you stand and you sort of stand in that corridor. And you just hear the noises of the broken city around you. But at that moment, there's nothing else. And you sort of see in your head as you hold this young man, when you close your eyes, you see an image of yourself knelt down, hugging a young version of Archer in the same corridor. Slightly different. But it feels the same. And I think that's where we will leave it this week, before next week.
Ooh, boy, that is. I feel like a lot happened today, just emotionally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And then physically, for like us three, were like, ah, action, action, and then it was like emotions on either side. So we're gonna go around. We're gonna say who we are, if you're on the internet, where we can find you, and what your favorite part from today's game was. We're gonna just go around in a circle. We'll start with Alice, and then just go counterclockwise and end with me.
Oh, hi. I'm kind of on the internet. I'm on Patreon and Instagram, which I will, as I say every week, get links for, but I've been rebranding, so I'm very busy right now. But otherwise, you can find me here every Friday. I sort of created this world so that these wonderful people can tell a story in it, which they do amazingly well, and bring the characters to it. I love being here every Friday, and I love this group. So I'll be back next Friday.
And what was your favorite part, Alice?
I can't say all of it, but I love the image, one of Livewire monologuing with a Solovac and trying to maneuver his way around a cabin. I was very nervous in the build-up for Cantor to meet Archer again, because you want it to be good. You want it to be impactful, and I know it's a big thing, and I loved that. And just the badassery that like happened with the three of you. I feel so bad for Loxy rolling so badly. Like, what happened?
It happens, you know. Sometimes the dice are on your side, sometimes they're not.
And you got XP out of it.
I did. I got XP out of it.
You got XP, and you did do a badass swoop. But like when you rolled the GM intrusion, I was like, I love these, but at the same time, Erica's rolled really low all day, and I feel really mean.
You know, that's not. It's the dice. You know, you gotta do what they tell you.
Yep.
Fantastic. Yeah. Someone who does what the dice tells them. Trooper.
So, I'm Trooper SJP. What I want to say was, it's the line. You don't have to remember someone to miss them.
Best thing.
Yeah, that's just that was my moment, you know. And myself, I don't know whether or not Greg, you got to see this, but myself and Lily, like basically we were all in chat being like, we want to hug him. We want to hug him. So there was a lot of desires of giving a Cantor hugs, but unfortunately we were not in the room with you, so we could not hug you. Mm-hmm. Also, you probably wouldn't remember who we were. Like, why are these strange people hugging me right now? It was so beautiful. What a great game, and what greatness from Alice. And I adore being in this group and seeing the amazing commitment everybody has to the moment. So that's great. And I'm Trooper SJP, and if you want, you can watch me tonight on my channel, Trooper SJP, at 7 p.m. Eastern, where I will be GMing the second episode of City of Light and Shadow, a Fate French Resistance World War II campaign. And Greg's in it. And
Awesome.
he got with torture.
Oh, fun.
Great.
Very much, lots of fun.
Mhm.
Someone who's lots of fun is Erica Loxy. How was that for you?
It was rough with the dice rolls, but you know, that's gonna happen. It happens sometimes. And you can find me on my personal Twitch channel Monday through Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific. And then Fridays, today after, we usually do a watch along in the Discord. You can also find me Wednesdays at 10 a.m. on Girls Guts Glory. We only have 2 episodes left of the season. And tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific, you can find me on Total Party Chill, where I will be playing Occultation, which is a D6 paranormal investigation game. And I also play that the last Saturday of every month on Voidcat Gaming. I do a lot of things. I'm on the internet. You can find me everywhere out of style, Bexy.
Fantastic. Someone who's fantastic, and I love hearing what they have to say about their favorite parts of the game is Greg.
I had a blast. I think that there's what a great sandwiching, and that all Alice here, you know, having the awesome scene with Livewire in the beginning, and then the scene that was obviously a social type of scene at the end with Cantor, and in the middle this amazing, you know, techno-organic monstrosity that's fighting your favorite heroes. And like Alice said, the sheer badassery of what was going on there, ripping its own arms off to beat it to death. Listen, whenever you can do that in a game, say you're going to do it and then do it is in RPGs, anybody that explains what they want to do always rolls a nat 1, except today. It was a 20 or some shit, or like whatever. It was amazing. I loved it. Loved everything about it. I didn't like Loxy getting smashed in the glass, but again, and then crash landing, that breaks my heart. But again, I had a blast. I love it. Absolutely. Pop right back up. I love everybody in this game. Alice, you weave a story for the ages. I'm blessed to be here. My favorite part is what I mentioned, badassery, and my wish would be to keep telling the story with you next week. Back to you, Lindy.
Fantastic. Thank you. Someone else who's fantastic would be Hybria, ripping off legs, beating people with them. Lily, how are you?
I'm doing great today. Thanks, Lindy. What a great episode. As always, Friday is like my favorite day of the week because I get to just hang out with all of these people who I enjoy so much and play in this world that I enjoy so much and see Alice, whom I enjoy so much. Some of the emotional trauma she puts us through, I also enjoy so much. Yeah, so great times all around. My name's Lily Sparks. I'm the girl with many lives. You can catch me DMing on Sundays now. I have a weekly game going on Sundays on Critical Bard's channel. We're playing Creature Collectors, which is a D&D 5e game based on Pokemon, Digimon, card captors, and Ghostbusters. It's very silly and fun. So come check that out. That's fun. And I'm also going to be back on Thursdays bi-weekly, starting this Thursday, with my old Femmes and Friends group, Roll for Damage. So we're going to be playing masks because, man, do I love some masks. So that'll be fun. And you can catch me on all the social medias with, you know, Lily Sparks with an X. My favorite parts of this episode, sorry chat, but they were all like in the background in the backstage area. So one, when Trooper was just doing his super in-depth monologuing, I accidentally discovered that Zoom now has a video filters option. So we were just all here off screen, like putting on Thug Life glasses and, like all these things and just not trying to distract Alice, but, getting joy out of seeing Alice's face just like twitch a little bit. And then also when Archer got introduced and I shared the Pinterest board in the chat in the back, and everyone was just like, oh my God, but Archer is so hot. So, great times. I love playing with all of you so much. And Trooper, you should grow that mustache for realsies. Yeah. Yeah, that should be a forever thing now. Yeah, so great. I love all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, that was also one of my favorite parts, was everyone being thirsty over Hybria's brother in the backstage chat. And questions as to whether or not Zarina was single. I'm like, well, they broke up because you faked your death. So I'd say that constitutes singledom.
I don't know if it's a breakup as more as, like a breakup. Hey, I'm breaking up with you. This was more like, oh no, you're dead. I feel like it's just a slightly different.
Technically, Archer also faked his death. So I don't know if Zarina wants to get in on a death faker again.
Listen, when I saw that the face claim, that's why I went in for the second hug. So.
Yeah.
And Alice has got my
beautiful.
back because in all caps there's "you died." So thank you, Alice. And thanks Lisa, for the raid. We're just wrapping up, but thank you. We appreciate the thought. Other favorite moments was teaming up to fight against the thing and not dying. Poor Loxy, poor Cantor, poor Livewire, but I love the Solivac. So there's that. I can't wait to see where we each pick up off next week. And, if we happen to run into a black market veranda of wares, I might just have to do some shopping. Who knows? Maybe...
Wait, does the black market, are they on veranda? Is that how that works?
I don't know. I couldn't think. A bazaar. That's the word I was looking for. But I could only think of veranda. Yes, the black market veranda.
Sounds lovely.
Veranda
charming,
on it.
Really.
What a view.
So I might have to do some shopping for mods because I can stop anytime I want. Yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out and watching. The chat was lovely. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, Roll20, virtual tabletop of choice. We got some lovely rolls. We also had some really low rolls today. So, make your sacrifices to the Roll20 programmers, and hopefully you will be blessed with good rolls as well. Check them out, roll20.net. It's free. Sign up if you haven't signed up already. And yeah, just thanks for hanging out. And hopefully you come hang out next week. Have fun, play games, and we'll hopefully see you next time.